I'd like to take the time to open the meeting and say the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Everybody received their claims and vouchers minutes? I'd like to make a motion to approve the May 2019 minutes.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Zell. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Judy?
Okay, the claims and vouchers for the general fund, $32,788.88. The highway fund, $19,081.21. The lighting district, $756.27. Trust and agency, $8,401.48. The capital accounts, $319,445.30. Total of $380,473.14.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the town clerk's report.
Second by Mr. Dittis. All in favor? Opposed? So carried.
All board members have received their financials, so I'd like to make a motion to accept the supervisor's report.
Seconded by Mr. Dittis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you very much. At this time right now, I'd like to announce our guest speaker from Assembly in Cahill's office, Laura Nordstrom. She's going to be giving us an insight on the West Hurley Water District. There is a 15-minute time limit, so all Q&A can go forth. So, Laura, you have the floor.
Hi everyone. So this all came to my attention in the office when we received a letter from Phyllis Bloom. I don't know if Phyllis is here. Hi Phyllis.
Hi.
You were really an awesome letter, very moving, to say the least. So I do understand another letter was sent earlier on another date that I, like I said, tried to locate, so I do apologize for any oversight that anybody might feel was done by the office. That being said, Phyllis's letter kind of sent me into overdrive. We brought the attention to Assembly in Cahill and kind of got the go to look into this as much as possible. It has been roughly 20 business days since I got that letter, so I can't come here and say that I have a solution to just give to you right now in this moment. I can give you a little bit of insight into what we've done with our time since then. I have spoken at length with John Perry over here to find out the timeline that this area has been dealing with these issues. And some of the steps that have been taken on the process in terms of dealing with Mr. Fuller, opening up lines of communication or not, filing with the PSC, and obviously this rate hike that everybody was reasonably up in arms over. I did meet with Angela as well last week, who was kind enough to provide me with a lot of information, accounts from some of neighbors, and we went over in great detail a lot of the interactions that many of you have had with Mr. Fuller and his willingness or unwillingness to deal with the issue itself. In terms of what we're doing with that, we are working with an organization who has dealt with these things for utilities and other, not just water, but electricity and gas, and we are hoping that that research and that partnership is going to give us some avenues of what we can do in order to assist with this, getting to a resolution. These repairs are something that have been a long time coming and very slow in actually happening. I will say, Angela, I actually got a chance to look at the pictures of all the equipment that was on site. And basically, in terms of actions we're in right now, we are in the phase of looking into what actions can be taken. Not a matter of making a phone call to Mr. Fuller and saying, hi, can you do this please, but what processes can be put into play to get this resolved. The one thing I really wanted to hear from people today is what your experiences have been. If you know that this has been going on longer than I do, please tell me. I know that other districts, I'm sorry, it's been a long day, I did not drink enough water. know that he has a number of other water districts in the area who are also experiencing a lot of the same things, which definitely leads us to find that there's a much larger issue here, which I'm actually going to ask that any more of those communications that you have, especially with the Mount Marion one as well, to collect them, because the agency that we are working with is going to be able to make use of those things. The knowledge that this is as widespread of an issue and the timeline they stressed to me was very important. So that's where we are on this. So I will open it up for questions.
I have a question to ask you.
Yes. And I will do my best to answer
When
them.
we spoke to Jeffrey Fuller, his response to us was, none of our business, literally. He said, this is not a town issue, and I'm going like, this is a town
He said it
issue.
was none of the town's issue.
None of the town's issues. Right. He's not beholden to us. And I wonder why. It involves our population, more or less. And when I spoke to the Public Service Commission, they said it's in the Board of Health, Ulster County's purveyance.
I have spoken with them as well.
Yeah, they told me that. Yeah, so I'm just curious to know, like, why are we eliminated from the any kind of discussion, any kind of suggestion, and so forth?
Okay. I don't have an exact answer for you, but that is one I can answer. There have been quite a number of contradictions. I have spoken to the PSC. I've not spoken to Mr. Fuller, as I mentioned, but I've spoken to Department of Health. I've spoken with many of the operating agencies, and there's definitely, I think, contradiction in terms of telling various parties which direction to turn into as to who's responsible. That is something that we've noted.
The Public Service Commission is the regulator.
Yes.
They're the ones who give him the rate increases. Wouldn't the buck stop there?
I agree that it should, which is why we're taking the route that we are at the moment. And I wish I could kind of go further into that. I'm simply not able to do so until we know what will come of that process. I don't want to make any sort of false promises, especially since it's not my word, it's assembly members, and I want to make sure that whatever I communicate is something that will be followed through on.
Great. So since you asked for people's experience and stuff, I'm not sure that you got this, but it might be good for other people to hear from a particular resident of West Hurley, Andy Shapiro, who's been very involved in this. And he says that he wanted to have his observations registered here. His concerns, he said, this is a history of 13 years of spotty service and consistent inadequate water pressure, and that they had to install their own water tank and pump to remediate it. Hundreds of days without water within that time period. Inadequate water testing, so that the testing hadn't been done at house-specific sites for many years. And we undertook testing in our own area, and he did it in his own house and got very different results than the Fuller tests. For example, they have in his home high presence of copper, close to the EPA limit, and it's increasing. So that was
How
something
many
that
of you
makes.
have had testing done? Do you
But
have-
a dozen of us have recently had independent testing done.
I saw the mentioning of the testing. I also saw Mr. Fuller's response to the testing. Is that something you have documentation of that you could provide to the office? At the
Yes.
end of this,
We
my
do.
15 minutes, I'm going to leave my cards on the desk. And any documentation you have like that, I would like you to please email to me. If you're more comfortable dropping by the office and giving it to me in person and making a copy, that's first of all, scan it the same thing. I have access to a scanner. That's something we can arrange, and just let me know when you'd like to come by.
There actually was a folder in my file that is actually called experiential.
Is that the experiential
is the
file?
Michigan
And that's the
company,
emailed file?
And it probably was in a couple of forms.
Okay.
But
That was a lot to
there are
look through.
results, there were individual results, and then there was, we had a number of questions following the testing that they came back to us a couple of weeks ago and gave us some answers. The most compelling thing they said in the follow-up was that when there's this much infrastructural repair, that the EPA standards for testing really, they didn't put it in quite these words, they basically said any major work that's being done, you need to have your water tested more regularly than EPA standards require, because now you're moving things around and there's the potential for introduction of more contaminants.
Mm-hmm.
So these tests that are done every 3 years or every 9 years may not be sufficient given the amount of repairs we've had done
And also that are needed,
and that are needed.
because that would mean there's leaks over there.
Well, these two letters from different people really specify that too, you know, the one from a person in High Falls Park.
Are those copies that I'm able to
I
have?
think, yeah, I think you
The
have
High
the
Falls
copy.
letter I just
I
gave
don't think
tonight.
Andy's letter is not with her, but he makes it clear, he says the infrastructure is old, past its life expectancy, and the maintenance company described piping and life expectancy other than 100 feet replaced this spring was not proactive, no proactive work has been done at all. No plan has been communicated in terms of the details of how and according to what schedule the replacements will be made. And of course, there's no backup generator in any pump house, you know, in any of his regions. And the person who's in High Falls is actually somebody who knows a lot about water systems analysis. And he is saying that there's been no upgrades to the High Falls water infrastructure, basically, and that no, you know, backup generators are, that Fuller has refused to do it. And he also is saying, he made a comment about the water quality, which you mentioned before. Quote, despite what Fuller says about the water quality report, the water in High Falls is disgusting. It discolors everything. Most of the time it smells disgusting, the pressure's low, sometimes there's no water at all. So it's that kind of thing in all of his areas, and I think one of his MOs is that he has a lot of spread out areas, and the more meters he puts in, the more money he makes. There's just a couple of things. I should also mention, you know, from talking to people in the neighborhood, that where he has fixed pipes in West Hurley, those people say it's happened in their same area many times, and Fuller has come to a place where he completely refuses to repair the damage that has been done to their driveway and to their lawn, that it's up to them completely to, like, you know, redo everything after, I think he said that that Fuller redid it once, and it was so bad that the resident couldn't drive his car into his own driveway very easily.
And
So-
the tag with that, the same thing is happening with the town. He's pulling up our roads, our highway superintendent told us that he's not repairing them or even making notice to us that the roads are being cut or put in a. So the town also has some issues with that and really some charges that go along with that. And I think if I remember right, you had said if you threaten to stop paying, he threatens to just shut off, or it was something like that, right?
Well, I took the initiative myself
Yeah.
foolishly to set up an escrow account.
Right.
Because of that, we had that terrible stretch of time last spring between March and April. It was like 36 days of on and off service, mostly off,
Yeah.
where I decided to take it. I mean, we had already sort of been talking amongst ourselves, and I said, you know what, maybe I need to, you know, lead by example here. And I set up an escrow account and said, I owed him $30.83. And it wasn't about the money, it was about, I've been paying my bill for 18 years on time. It wasn't about that. It was to send a message to Mr. Fuller that there were going to be consequences because he wasn't really being held accountable by anyone. And I encouraged our group to start, you know, looking into possibly opening their own escrow accounts. And I mentioned this to Laura last week that, you know, maybe there's some, you know, very organized way we can do it. Because the only way we're going to reach him is through the pocketbook. It seems clear, because he has no good intentions. And we've just seen the movie so many times, day in and day out, where we're either treated in, he, you know, speaks to us in a surly way, or, I mean, in my case, I just stopped calling him. I just wrote him a letter so I could document everything. Because it just didn't feel like a legitimate exchange anymore. It was like, I have to, you know, it would be a he said, she said situation, which was going to get no one anywhere.
But he did threaten you with shutting off your water, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He threatened to charge me for, you know, $100 turn on fee again. And by the way, I got pink postcards from him before my water bill, my check was even due to him, which I thought, but I have records of this. It was like, it's not even due and you're sending me pink slips. So at that point he knew I was sending him certified letters. And he didn't like it. And he said, I don't want any more certified letters, I don't want an escrow account, I don't want a warrant. Just pay me on time. So, you know what, I realized that as long as we weren't organized on that particular issue yet, that I said, you know what, I'm gonna send him the money and I'm gonna move on. Because this was, you know, this was a small point and we would address it again. And hopefully now is the time that we will.
Beyond that, he's been overcharging us.
I
He's been overcharging us every month.
$9,000 minimum.
9,000 gallon
That's
minimum.
what I'm sorry, 9,000.
And we use between 4,000 and 5,000 gallons a month. and he charges us
quarter.
for 10,000
It's a
gallons.
quarter.
It's a quarter.
Chart 10,000 or 14,000. He makes up the meter readings. And when I confronted him on it, he said, "Oh well, we couldn't get a hold of you to get what the actual meter readings, so we made an estimate." Well, how do you estimate 14,000 gallons when someone's using 4,000 gallons? That's obscene.
You turn us off for $3.52. That we say we don't.
And the pH level in the water is so low
The
that it
pH is about
makes our animals
5.5
sick.
regularly
That's,
with a digital.
that's not drinking, that's
no.
not drinking water.
No,
Sorry,
that's
it's
lemonade.
Yeah.
And it's, it's also corroding, it's always
That's
already
the power
producing
That's where you
problems
get the
like
power
copper
problem.
and,
Yeah.
metallic problems for water, so it's not trustworthy. You can't, you can't have it all around. It happened with Flint.
Yeah.
It's a Flint.
The 9,000 on bit book there.
9,000
Look
gallon.
at the camera.
It's a
Sorry,
9,000
$3,
gallon
The 9,000
gallon.
9,000 gallon minimum is something I specifically.
Anything over 9,000 gallons, he can charge you an extra fee beyond the 9,000 gallons.
And that's happened to me when I'm typically using maybe 5,000 or 6,000 gallons a month. So it was, what I started doing was emailing him every time, if both his water operator, Lisa Michaels, and himself, I say, hey, this was the number I sent you, but I'm looking at the bill, and these numbers are from somewhere, they don't even correlate to what I sent you. And this happened 3 consecutive quarters. And he ended up owing me like $60+. And Lisa was like, well, I don't deal with any of the rest, but she's the one who's taking the numbers. So something doesn't add up. The bottom line is he definitely reimbursed me for that, but it was because it was all in writing. It wasn't a phone conversation. It was documented.
Question is, how many times is he overcharging residents who don't pay attention to what their actual meter readings are, and he's just making money hand over fist, and they don't even know it. He's ripping them off.
Can we request an audit?
I can look into how that process would be, yes.
That would be a great idea.
Let's start putting some work on his plate.
So there's a comment over here.
Yeah. I'm property manager of 21 units in West Hurley, and whenever the water goes out, I have to alert the people. And so they give us notice that the water's going to go out. They have repairs scheduled, and then the repairs aren't made. Another notice comes through that for whatever unknown reason they're not going to be made. The repairs aren't going to be made, they're delayed. So I'll have to alert the people who've already prepared for it. At the beginning, when there was no preparation, we have a lot of elderly people. You have to deliver water to the people because the water that they provide is through a hose. You have to go up to the road to the the road to the water to the pump house is a dirt road, and the pump house, if you went up there, you would think that it's somebody's private
I'm sorry.
property.
It's a back road.
It's not very professional
You
looking.
have to go and run a hose up to the pump house.
The
He has a
hose
hose.
comes from the pump house to fill up your
And
container.
there's a little sign that says, fill your water here, and you bring your own bottles and fill water
And
bottles.
you're a third world country.
Well, but I think I gave you a
I've been to
picture
Tibet,
of
you're
that
not
water.
off.
It's not, some of it was brown, 2 people.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, the water that's coming out of the hose is brown, so you're not gonna drink that water. You might be able to flush the toilet.
So it's
That's
And
about
the
it.
water from the pump house, when the water repairs are supposed to be done, that water I'm guessing is not water you can drink. That's water to what? To then boil and.
So using your toilet, flush your toilet.
Toilet.
That's about it.
Who else is in the
So, I mean, if you're a property manager, I'm guessing there's also an issue then that doesn't happen of having to prorate rent or.
Well, no, it had, other people have been kind enough not to ask for that, except one person said that she would take us to court because of that, and,
And then when they notify you the water's been put back on, they give a boil water notice, they stick it on the flag of your mailbox if you have a flag on your mailbox. That's how they notify you. They don't contact you by phone or mail. They put a note, a piece of paper.
It's not even a whole piece of paper.
Yeah, it's a little strip of an 8.5 by 11 that they fold in half and put it in the flag of your mailbox, and you're supposed to see it. And if you don't see it, you don't boil your water, you get sick.
That was something that was the people who received notices to boil, but they never got I'm sorry, he puts the boil notices on the mailbox.
Yes.
On the mailbox.
Not the go back to.
Oh, he puts the shut-off notices on the mailbox too.
Sometimes they blow away.
Yeah.
I had a neighbor once tell me, I was only living here part-time at the time, and a neighbor said, oh, did you know the water's gonna be turned off tomorrow? And I said, no. She said, well, somebody came around and they were knocking on doors. This was probably about 3 years ago. They were knocking on doors and handing out these strips of paper. And she said, so we're gonna be out from 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I said, it was just before when Hanford's was still open, and I had to run over, it was late.
And buy bottled water.
You know, I just got in under the wire to buy bottled water, and it was totally serendipitous. It's like, you know, thanks for the good graces of my neighbor, I would have been, you know, on the outside looking in, and I just arrived. So it just.
And we filed complaints, 3 complaints with the PSC on their online complaint form. And I followed up with them, and they emailed me back and said, we're doing a deep investigation on this.
Do you have the case number for that?
I sure do. And
That's the one that I want.
I've got all the tests, since 10 years at that. I've got the tests that we did on our water. I've got the pH tests that I've been doing for the last 3 years. I've got all the notifications and the case numbers, and guess what? Haven't heard peep from them. So their deep investigation's been going on for quite a few months. Nothing.
Yeah,
Crickets.
I can corroborate that. That's absolutely. I have at least 3 separate case numbers that I started last year, and it's always a stop letter that says we're going to be investigating. You should be hearing from the company within 2 weeks, and nothing ever happens. It never goes any farther than that. It definitely is a formula.
And then he asked for a 13% increase. They gave him an 11% increase, and we're supposed to be happy about that?
And part of that increase was based on his coming up here, which he doesn't do.
Right.
I saw also how the
Yeah.
automobile was
That's
included
right.
in the repairs. I read that.
It's a train.
I read that whole report. That was
You
fun.
can get a Uber.
Um,
At least a car is.
Yeah, really.
So, and part of what he
has anybody ever
promised,
met Mr. Fowler?
part
Did
of
anyone
what
actually meet Mr. Fowler?
I've been
He
threatened,
requested
I've been
some,
threatened,
But nobody here
Well,
has
he's
actually
been-
met.
No, I've had the unpleasant experience of talking to him on the phone several times, but
I've never
Well,
spoken to him personally either, only email.
Never
He-
knows. Never
You
knows.
I wonder if he's a real person.
Yes, he
he
is.
he
is.
is, he is, he won't threaten
No,
me.
I've spoken to him on the phone
He's 80 years
a
old.
number of
Bobby
times.
needs
No,
to-
No,
73.
I more or less meant him coming up to visit a kid 10
No.
times a year for each thing, but
No, he
clearly.
never comes up.
Younger than
He
that.
also doesn't really collect meter
73?
readings.
73.
I was going to ask that. How often do you
He's
see him?
lying.
He
They
never.
don't
no.
come and look at the meter.
Somebody did a Google
And these
search
aren't
and
like
found
smart
73.
meters that
No,
can.
no, they're in our houses.
These-
They also
In your
don't,
house.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're in our house.
It's a little dial that spins around. It's really an old-fashioned meter that's,
They also don't provide.
turn on the water hose
postcard
outside, you can hear it
and
go-
you're
going
supposed to be
around.
psychic because they don't tell you when they need the reading by. So,
Yes, and the person from High Falls corroborates that too. He says that, you know, there's no notice about the reading. Often, like, you can't access the meters, and then, you know, he just bases it on so-called estimated readings.
which is
You don't
not
have
true
access
because
to it.
I've used the
But if
same
they
amount
have
of
to enter
water
your
for 12 years.
house to read the meter,
Yeah.
I mean, how often has somebody entered your house to read the meter this year?
never.
When we first
They're not
moved there,
outside,
they
they
were,
have to-
but
No,
That's
they
what I
can't,
mean.
they put a card in the door. They put a card in the door and asked you to put the meter reading on the card, and they'd come back and pick it up.
yeah, but they don't do that anymore.
They don't even do that anymore.
So they used to
Yeah.
request
They
that you
used to
read the
give you
meter,
postcards.
give you a card,
Right.
and now
Don't
that
get the
doesn't
postcards
happen.
anymore.
How long has that not been happening?
A year.
Yeah, at least last
At
year.
least, at least a year.
So I've been emailing
So how
him.
do they know how many gallons you use?
They
Yeah,
never
Estimate.
estimated.
14,000,
But
Mrs.
it's
Zell, every
never
time.
estimated because we've been there for 12 years.
And how often has somebody read your meter in 12 years?
Oh, physically come in?
Physically
I
come in,
want-
zero.
Or at least like, yeah.
They've never come and read our meter in the last 12 years.
That doesn't, it's strictly,
Is
you
it-
provide
is
them with the
is it
meter
remote,
readings,
or do you
and
have
then they
physical-
No, no.
Old-fashioned-
John, it's a really old-fashioned meter that has a meter that's a thing dial that spins around in the middle.
How close are they?
So,
It's
Lauren,
way
can
off.
can we
We
request
bought
establish a
reading
follow-up
water,
meeting
and I've never
at
heard
some
Yes,
point? Request
so-
maybe Mr. Fuller and or.
I am going to, can we discuss a date with Mr. Fuller? I will contact you later on this week, to figure out how to get him here with us. Another thing we might do first is try to get him for a district office meeting. That is in my realm of
Request.
things to, yeah.
You have the power to do that?
I'm going to bring, there's a reason I'm here, and I'm going to make all of this clear.
Because you blew us off.
I'm very sorry about that.
we appreciate you being here.
Appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate you being here trying
Yeah,
to
we
help.
very much appreciate you being here.
Very much. You know, I just wanted to add one little thing because it was really based on what he, I think it was the town of Hurley, you know, that said that you wanted to meet with him and then he reassured you that he was going to do repairs in the spring. So people have been following this And, you know, the extent of dishonesty and distrust is really high. So he went ahead and repaired so-called the same area that has been repaired a million times. But according to a neighbor the plumber who worked on it said, he repaired new pipe. He didn't repair old pipe, and they keep telling him to like repair the pipe behind and in front of the old pipe, and he doesn't do it. So he's
We
not
actually
prepared.
we heard
He's
that
not
from
prepared.
the plumber Brady, who was on, we actually went to the site where it was happening. And he was very candid about it. He said, we always encourage him to, whenever there's a repair, to be doing more in the front of where the problem is and at the end of it, so that you're moving forward. There's, you know, if there was ever any good intention here to, you know, to have a master plan saying, instead of just being 80 feet or 100 feet, you know, but we are, as Laura pointed out, it's like he's done 5% of what he needs to do, and it's almost July. So, you know, before you know it, the ground will be frozen and he won't be able to do anything
Yeah,
again.
and then
So
it
somebody
basically
somewhere
affects
heard
the
that
first,
impact or repair.
the pump house to the first 3 houses is what basically was addressed. The rest of the homes, nothing.
You say that your water pH is 5.4?
Sometimes
Between
it's
5.4, 5.7.
You know what?
5.7.
And Bill will
Because
corroborate.
the lowest range
It's-
of aqua water is
When
5.5.
I was testing my water last year, it was like 5.7, 5.8, like that. Then we decided to go with experiential, and the truth is that the water testing company in Michigan, and we noticed that when the testing was done, all our pH numbers were higher, correct?
Right.
But it was the first time it ever happened.
He also told us to run the water for 10 minutes and then take the test.
Well,
That's
And
also.
pay for that water
and-
too,
and,
right?
um,
It's had
Oh yeah, we had to pay for the first 10
They
minutes.
water for 10 minutes
Well-
before they pour a glass of water, so.
The guy at the testing company actually said that the water tester that we're using, the calibrated digital tester, is more sensitive than the strict test that the
Yeah.
lab does for pH. So, you know, he said to go with our numbers for the
Go with your
digital
numbers.
testing.
But the copper levels and the lead
Do you
levels
receive
are
copies of the
not
testing
acceptable.
for Mr. Fuller anymore?
Sorry?
Has anybody received copies of any testing for Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
I have the last 10 years.
Can I request you also?
I will send you
I realize
copies
we'll
of all of
probably get
them.
15
I'll send you
same
copies
thing
of all
on
of what I
the
have.
Okay.
I have a file.
We have
that-
12 years
not
worth.
that-
Bill, I have it here. If we have a copy,
You
we'll
have
do it
copies?
tonight.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
Okay. Anything else?
No,
You
this
request?
was all really insightful.
Why don't you bring them up and we'll string them up?
I think if anybody else has anything that they think about between now and potentially our next meeting, if you would please,
Do you want me to come to the next board meeting?
you're welcome to come in anytime.
So how about we just say that I'll come back to the next board meeting and you and I will speak regarding whether, how we get.
Yes.
And I'll gladly,
Don't worry, I'm not.
I'll gladly go to the district meeting also.
Yeah, no, that's something that will, is this for me to
Barbara?
make copies?
Yes.
Yes, I will make copies.
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm gonna leave these here for everyone. And I will do my best to continue working on this. It's something that needs to be resolved, it's something that can't continue, and that's something that we're agreed on, so, I hope that we can come to a solution.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
This is the first time that's really felt like somebody has addressed
Well,
the problem.
that's,
directly.
I'm sad that I can't, I'm sad, I'm disappointed that I can't give you a larger view of what steps we're taking at the moment, like I said, the main reason I wanted to come was to hear you, and I know that it's important that you feel that way. It's very important that you know that you're being listened to, and that somebody's actually taking steps to try to rectify it, and that I hope we can do that as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Please feel free to email me anything you have. That's my personal email, but not my personal, it's my office email, that's not the catch-all one on the Assembly website, so thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have my voice. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Moving forward, right now, we have the resolution for the purchase of the charging station. I'd like to make a motion for resolution to purchase a CT 4021-GW1 dual output level 2 car charging station. Whereas the town of Hurley is keeping with the climate safe efforts to continue its path to using clean energy, and whereas the town of Hurley has purchased and uses solar energy to operate its municipal offices located at 10 Ramsey Place, And whereas the CT4021-GW1 charging station will also be connected to the solar power, allowing for clean energy charging at potentially no cost to the town, thus allowing for higher revenue, recharging public vehicles, and allowing the increases in the use of local businesses, tourism, and recreation. And whereas the town of Hurley will be purchasing the CT4021-GW1 charging station at a cost of $13,141, with a rebate through the NYSERDA Charging Ready program, bringing the total cost to the town is $5,141, savings of $8,000. Whereas the town of Hurley Highway Department will perform the trenching and set an 800-pound pier or footing with the charging station, for the charging station. And whereas the town of Hurley has allocated the funds available in its 1H capital project line to make such purchase. Therefore, be it resolved that the town of Hurley purchase a CT4021-GW1 dual output level 2 car charging station. Any other questions? Okay, at this time I request a second.
I'll second it.
Mr. Bones? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Yay! Yeah, we can also thank the Cornell Cooperative. They were a big help for me as well, going through the process and helping me decide what it is. So that was awesome. Mr. Bonds, you have a resolution?
Yes. Whereas the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference is applying to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for a project grant under the Hudson River Estuary Program to be located at the Ashokan Rail Trail, a site located within the territorial jurisdiction of this board. Whereas, as a requirement of this program, a nonprofit organization must obtain the approval and the endorsement of the governing body of the municipality in which the project will be located. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of Hurley does approve and endorse the application of New York, New Jersey Trail Conference for a grant under the Round 12 Hudson River Estuary Program for a project known as Ashokan Rail Trail Stewards and located within this community.
Second?
Second.
Mrs. Bell? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you, Mike.
Next one up is me. Resolution to pay for Don Wychick to attend a New York City State Safety Inspector course. Resolution to pay for the New York State Building Safety Inspector course and materials for Don Wychick. Whereas Don Wychick has enrolled in the New York State Building Safety course for the fire inspector training, and whereas the course has a $639 fee and a $3 registration fee, and whereas the course will require the purchase of books, therefore be resolved the pay for the course, registration fee, and course books. I have a second for that.
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Bones. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Again, I just want to make note that'll save the town about $4,000 a year. We can get her, we can reduce down our payouts to the contractual building and fire safety officer.
That's terrific. Smart.
Okay. I have a resolution for the, to appoint our town assessor. She's now finished, Kathy, our previous assessor's term. So with that, I'll make a motion to present a resolution to appoint Brittany Bailiff to the town assessor, whereas real property tax section 310 establishes a term for assessor, and whereas the term is for 6 years, therefore be it resolved to appoint Brittany Bailiff as assessor for the town of Hurley beginning October 1st, 2019 through September 30th of 2025. Get a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you.
Okay. The next resolution be a resolution to increase hourly rate of pay for the transfer station attendant Javier Perez. Whereas the transfer station manager acknowledges the attendant Javier Perez is doing outstanding work and has taken on greater responsibility, and whereas the town would like to compensate him for his efforts, therefore let it be resolved to increase his pay by $1 an hour from $12.45 an hour to $13.45 an hour beginning July 1, 2019. Get a
I have questions about that.
Yeah.
Sure.
How does this pay compared to like other towns?
It's about, in all honesty, it's probably about $5 an hour less. Less. So when we revisit the budget this year, I will address that, especially with the fact that Bob, our manager, is looking for more and more time to do things on his own. And at this point, Javier definitely can run the facility on, when Bob's not there. Maybe even Javier take over some of the actual roles of managing.
How many hours does he work?
Part-time. Yeah, well, everybody is part-time.
So he's under 25 hours,
Under 35.
35, so he's going about $35 max increase.
Yeah.
So that was a request that came in front of us. Again, we can address it.
Okay, next slide.
I don't, we've got so much money.
Get a second on it?
I second it.
Do it all in favor there?
All in favor? Sorry.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Okay. Another one, what is the, yep. Resolution to increase the fee per pound at the transfer station. Whereas the cost of the Ulster County garbage hauling has increased, and whereas the town has deemed it necessary to increase the disposal fee per pound